Hello, welcome. All right, so we're going to go over circles. So you definitely want to know all of the shapes, circles being one of them. And circles are a little different. You don't have perimeter for circles. You have what's called circumference since it's round. It's basically like perimeter. So it's the distance around the circle. From one side of the circle to the other is your diameter, which is the same all throughout the circle. And then radius is from the center to the end, which is also the same all throughout the circle. You may have heard of pi before. Pi is circumference divided by diameter, which is equivalent to 3.14, and it's like an infinite number, but usually you'll just use pi in your calculator or you'll just round. And you'll always receive instructions on when you should just use the 3.14. So make sure you just pay close attention to instructions when they're given to you. And of course, I uploaded this guide to you and I gave you these formulas. But first, let's kind of go over the basics. So let's do a few example questions. Here they gave you the diameter, which is 24. The radius is always half of that, which is 12. So this should be pretty simple. Here they gave you the radius and the diameter is always double. Also very simple. All right, we're not going to spend too much time on radius and diameter. Let's move on to circumference. So to find the circumference of a circle, you're going to do 2 times pi times r. 2 times pi times r. So here the radius is 8. So they said here, use 3.414 for pi. So you want to make sure you're doing that in your calculator. So I have so the circumference is 2 times pi, which in this case they said to use 3.14, times the radius, which in this case is 8. And so we get our circumference, which is our distance around the circle, of 50.24. So here they're asking you what the diameter is. They're telling you the circumference is 3.14. So that means 2 times pi times r gets you the circumference. So if we want to, so in order to solve for diameter, you can just make this instead of 2r, because 2 times r, that's diameter. So you could just make it pi times d if you want and solve for d. So basically, if you divide it pi on both sides, this is basically pi, right? You just get 1. You just get 1. The diameter is 1. So you're basically solving equations. Let's do another one like that. So this one, well, let's do this one first. So they give you the diameter, they're asking you the circumference, telling you to use 3.14. So make sure you're not multiplying by diameter. If you are, just do pi times d, which would be 3.14 times 4. Or if you're going to multiply 2 times pi times r, you want to use the radius, which is 2, which still gets you 4. So whichever way you want to do it, just make sure you're using 3.14 and you get your answer there. All right, let's do another one of these. So the circumference is 7,850. We want to find the radius. So 2 times pi times r. So we need to solve for r by dividing 2 pi to both sides. They said to use 3.14 for pi, so let's do 2 times 3.14. All right, 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. So we're basically doing 7,850 divided by 6.28. 7,850 divided by 6.28 gets you 1250. 1250 is your radius. Very simple stuff. All right, so now we're going to move on to area of circles. And so area is the formula for area is pi r squared. Pi times radius squared. Always do PEMDAS, so you're doing the exponent first. So in this case, it would be pi times 5 squared. They said you can keep pi in your answer or use 3.14, whatever you want to do. So let's just do 3.14 times 5 squared, which is 25. Feel free to use the calculator here. I'm just going to use mine. And you get 78.5. Easy peasy. Now, you have to find the radius in order to find area. So they gave you the circumference. Good thing we know how to find radius, right? By dividing by 2 pi. Let's do 3.14 for this, actually. They didn't tell us actually what we should be using, but it's okay. All right, so 2 times 3.14, once again, is 6.28. So we're going to do divide both sides by 6.28. So it cancels out. And so we have 18.84 divided by 6.28, which gets you 3. So the radius is 3. So then pi r squared gets you pi times 3 squared, which we'll just use 3.14 times 9, which is 28.26. So these ones are a little more challenging, but there it is. If you get it wrong, of course, Khan Academy will show you how to do it. Let's go to the last portion that you might sometimes see. So circumference of parts of circles and area of parts of circles. Well, this is half of a circle, so just divide your circumference in half, right? Circumference is 2 times 3.14, since they said we could use 3.14, times the radius. And then we're going to divide everything in half since it's half a circle. If it was 1/4 of a circle, we would divide by 4 and so forth. And so we want to multiply the top numbers together, then divide by 2, and we'll get our answer of 34.54. This is 3/4 of a circle, so I recommend just multiplying your circumference by 3/4. So 2 times pi times the radius, which is 5, times 3/4 of a circle will get you the circumference for this circle. All right, so this gets you 31.4 times 3/4. Feel free to use a calculator. If you don't know how to use fractions in your calculators, you should know how to at least multiply fractions. You multiply straight across. So 31.4 times 3 is 94.2, and 4 times 1 is 4. So you're basically dividing by 4, and you're going to get 23.55. Hold on. Something got messed up here. Oh, it says find the arc length. Okay, the arc length is the circumference. Let me just redo. 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 5, is 31.4. So the entire circle is 31.4. But since this is 3/4 of a circle, I'm getting the same answer. But hold on, maybe. What am I doing wrong here? I'm so confused. Did I type? I typed in 23.55. I think sometimes Khan Academy is a little weird. That is the right answer. Not sure what happened there. All right, so then same thing for area of circles. Find the area of the shape. Okay, well, we know that area is pi r squared, which is pi times 6 squared, which is 36 pi. Since this is 3/4 of a circle, we would multiply that by 3/4. 36 times 3 is 108 pi over 4, which would get you 27 pi, which you can leave your answer like that, or you can do 27 times 3.14 and change it to a decimal, whatever you want to do. And so for this one, we would divide in half, whatever the area is. This one, they gave you the diameter, so make sure you're doing 7 squared times 3.14, which is pi, right? Pi r squared. Pi r squared, which is going to get you 153.86, and you want to divide that in half, and you get 76.93. And that's pretty much all the fun we will have with circles. So feel free to practice, and you can also practice by doing the worksheets that I gave. And let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.